And joining me now to help us better understand the latest missile tests and Pyongyang's nuclear ambitions, Ms. Balbina Hwang, a visiting professor at Georgetown University. She specializes in Northeastern Asian security studies. You also have a long association with the US State Department. You've been studying, obviously, the buildup of DPRK's missiles over the years. How significant is this successful test of this intermediate missile?
Well, it's significant because this is the so-called Musudan, which is an intermediate range missile. Now, these missiles have been in North Korea's arsenal since at least 2007, 2005, but they've never actually tested one. Now, North Korea has been steadily trying to test these since April. The 5 tests, which were so-called failures, and then the 6th one, which apparently was somewhat of a success. It flew some 150 miles or so. We have to remember that even failures of missile tests are actually significant because scientists learn from mistakes and failures.
I understand this didn't go very far. Its range is meant to be about 2,000 miles, but it did go very high. And that, of course, could mean a great leap forward in terms of technology.
That's right. Now, these are certainly not a threat to the mainland United States, although it has the potential to reach areas such as Guam or certainly U.S. bases in South Korea and Japan. The issue here is that Musudan is a so-called mobile launcher. And mobile launchers, if North Korea is successful, would be a significant development in its deterrence capabilities, but also ability to essentially attack its enemies.
Yes, because it could launch a nuclear weapon and may survive a strike back.
A second strike, that's right.
So it could basically be a deterrent for
That's
anyone
right.
trying to attack it. So where does this leave us with DPRK and diplomacy? It's had sanctions put on it since its hydrogen test and before. Are the sanctions not working? Is it time to push for a resumption of the 6-party talks? As you know, Beijing is in favor of that.
Well, North Korean officials, representatives just are in Beijing as we speak.
Absolutely,
and North Korea has stated unequivocally, we are not interested in the North Korea in 6-party talks. In fact, I believe the North Korean representative said 6-party talks are dead. So sanctions, the U.S. unilateral sanctions on North Korea have been ongoing since the Korean War. These are the longest in the history of the United States. In addition to all of these international sanctions that have been in existence for at least several decades now. Sanctions which are to deter, to punish, or to change behavior, frankly, do not seem to be working. Now, that's not to say that I don't support sanctions. We certainly must send signals and we must try to limit North Korea's development. But I think that this latest test shows the North Korean regime is absolutely intent on pursuing a very broad and varied missile program and nuclear weapons program.
And just one final point, of course, that was the Musudan missile, the intermediate, but it's also potentially rolling out a intercontinental ballistic missile, the
yes, and of course,
KN-08.
That's exactly right. Now, North Korea may be developing these Musudan, the mobile launcher missiles, actually for commercial purposes. The international community has sanctions, but Iran has actually purchased anywhere around 20 of these Musudan missiles back in 2005. They've never been tested, but these tests could be ways in which North Korea is trying to advance its capabilities and essentially market its capabilities to potential buyers.
So if you were advising Beijing and Washington right now, what would you say is the next step forward?
Well, there are much brighter, smarter minds that are advising Beijing. I'm not sure Beijing is taking Washington's advice. I think the point is that this is certainly a problem for Beijing, but it is not at the level of which the leadership, frankly, is all that concerned. And I believe Beijing thinks it can continue to manage the problem. As for Washington, we are unable to stop North Korea from developing its missile
So is
programs.
Containment the key? Is it without saying the word?
I think without a doubt that non-proliferation, absolutely, and containment have to be our focus.
Balbina Hwang, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.